Yeah, I have no idea.
Sexually transmitted infection.
I have no idea.
Sexually transmitted infection.
Sexually transmitted infection.
Sexually transmitted infection.
STI is a sexually transmitted infection.
That it's an STD, human papillomanian, whatever. Usually warts.
It's the human papillomavirus.
Men cannot be tested, I believe.
And 90% of college students have it.
And it causes cervical cancer.
It's the human papillomavirus, and it's an STD, I guess.
It's non-curable. It causes cervical cancer, and it's also the most common STD.
HPV can be transmitted from a guy and a girl. It's usually associated with genital warts.
But I don't really actually know what HPV is, human papillomavirus or something. I don't know what it is, I just have heard it.
So HPV is the human papillomavirus. Basically, it's the virus that leads to genital warts, as well as it can lead to cervical cancer in women if it's a certain strain. However, HPV is basically the cause of any type of wart on the human body. So if someone has a wart on their finger, that's a form of HPV. So it's really important to know how it's transmitted. If it's specifically the sexually transmitted infection of HPV, then it can only be transmitted from someone's genitals to another individual's genitals, not from like a finger to genitals or something like that. And it's important that women and hopefully men someday get vaccinated for the virus right now, because it can lead to cervical cancer in women.
Males can be carriers and are unaffected by the disease, whereas females can be infected with it and it can cause serious health problems such as cancer.
I know, so in women, I think it contributes to cervical cancer, so you don't want to get that, right? And in guys, I think you can transmit the disease, but maybe you don't have nearly as many symptoms.
It doesn't affect men.
You can only get genital warts. Women can get cancer.
It's worse in girls.
I guess there's no test for a male. They can carry it and not even know it. And a woman's the only one that can actually have a test for it. It's a pap smear.
So is it a women's disease? HPV is not a women's infection. Men can also get HPV, and we're seeing the numbers increase dramatically as new studies are coming out and as we're paying attention to how HPV works. We're especially seeing high instances of oral and throat cancer in men caused by HPV. So again, that would happen during unprotected oral sex. They would contract the virus through that skin to skin, and then develop the abnormal cells from the high risk HPV, which would turn into cancer. So the one statistic we do know about HPV is that the majority of women, since we can only test it in women through pap smears, will contract HPV during the first 3 years that they're sexually active. So that means typically during teenage, 20s, 30s, around that young age is typically when women will contract HPV. So we can surmise that it might be higher among younger populations.
Allie has it.
So does Haley. But we have herpes in the mouth, which can be transmitted
From the
through oral
vag.
sex.
Herpes, yeah, it's a virus, and it's also a sexually transmitted disease. There's several different strains of them, ranging from the chicken pox to the measles. The mumps are all herpes viruses, but then there's also genital herpes, which is a sexually transmitted disease.
Yeah, usually from open wounds in the mouth and.
Yes, that's also not curable. And it causes nasty bumps down there.
1 in 5 people have it.
Herpes, don't sleep with people who have genital warts, so otherwise you'll get herpes. Yeah, it can sometimes manifest. A lot of the times people have it and they don't have an outbreak. It's less likely you'll contract it if you do.
It's not present all the time. It can go into a latent stage where you don't show symptoms at all, but it doesn't mean that you don't carry the virus still.
One of the most common STIs is herpes. Herpes simplex 1 and simplex 2.
It's basically basically the exact same virus, however it lives in different regions of the body. So simplex 1 is basically the virus itself lives in the nerves right by the brainstem in the body and get mostly expressed in the oral region of the mouth, usually like around the lips, such as like cold sores when you see them. That's generally type 1. And generally type 2 or simplex 2 lives in the spinal cord region of the lower spinal cord of the nerves, and basically whenever like someone has an outbreak, it comes out near the genitals. So that's typically simplex 2. However, you can have simplex 1 in the genital region and simplex 2 in the oral region, and both of them can be transmitted kind of like in the same manner. So if someone has oral herpes and they're going down on a partner and they're giving them oral sex, then their partner can get genital herpes from their oral herpes. So no, you can't only spread it if you have an outbreak. Herpes can be transmitted different times throughout an individual's basically life. It can always be transmitted. However, it's most likely to be transmitted, or it's most transmittable right before an outbreak. So when like an individual feels like they have this tingling sensation or something going on, that's when they're at the highest risk of transmitting it. And also right where they have like the actual outbreak, and you can see the kind of like sores on the genitals or on the oral region, and then they can spread the virus that way.